Hey guys, Chelsea here. I am going to be doing my first ever Wrap Up TBR video. As I mentioned in other videos, I'd been trying to take part in a bookathon on Instagram. I have unfortunately kind of given up on that. It didn't seem like there were very many people doing it. Not even the hosts were participating that much. When I looked at the tag for it, it seemed, at least last time I looked, that a lot of those pictures were mine. So I did kind of just give up on it. And unfortunately after that I kind of went into a little slump and I felt like I read more than I did. But when I went to get the books that I read this month to make this video, I discovered that I only read 3, which I know for some people that's perfectly fine, but I felt like I read more. I wanted to read more, but I just kind of got stuck in a slump. One of those books was an audiobook, and I finished it at the very last second, so at least I could have that as part of my wrap up. Anyway, let's just get right to it. At least for these first 2 books, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about them because I had mentioned them in other videos, but the first book that I read for July was Eleanor Park by Rainbow Rowell. I absolutely loved this book. Eleanor, girl. I know I'm not the only one who feels for this girl and just wants to hug her. The second book that I read for July was All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I didn't even write my little review that I had wanted to on this, and I know I talked about this book a little bit in some of my other videos. Even still, I don't know how to talk about it. It was just such a good story, and after I got done reading it, I just kind of felt empty, I guess, and I was sad, and it was hard for me to even pick up another book. So when I attempted to keep going with my bookathon, it was hard for me to even get into another book, and then I just, like I said, I decided just to say, screw it. I'm stumbling over myself. I'm still having problems. It's still mental illness, suicide. I mean, it is still such a thing that is so hard for people to talk about, and I just thought that this was done really nicely. I also gave this 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It's another one that I think people should check out if they haven't. The beginning did kind of start off slow for me, but as it kept going, it eventually just kind of grasped hold of my heart and it did not let go. So the third book I read was my audiobook, and I had listened to Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. That's another one. I don't know how this happened that I ended up reading like 3 sad books this month. It just, yeah, I don't know how it happened. And I gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I do have to say though, Lou's dad and Patrick, I did not like Patrick at all. And I felt like Lou's dad, I kind of had a love-hate relationship with him. He could say these things that were so nice, and he seemed genuinely concerned about his daughter, and then like the next second he says this really like douchey thing, and it kind of made me look up and be like, what? Like, you're her dad and you're talking to her like that? Really? But yeah, so like I said, love-hate relationship. I really learned to love him towards the end of the book. For those of you who have read it, you know kind of the part that I'm talking about. I do have the audiobook for the second book called Me After You. It is not part of my TBR for August. I want more of Lou. I want to see... Okay, I'm just gonna say, some spoiler alert. If you guys haven't read it, you might want to just skip these next few minutes. I do want to see how Lou decides to live her life, how she continues to grow into the person that she started becoming, to see how Will impacted the rest of her life. I do want to see that, but at the same time, it's going to be really hard to read about her and stuff without Will being there without those sarcastic comebacks and kind of buttholey remarks that he can give sometimes. It's gonna be hard to know that he's not there in that book. So now for my August TBR. I'm gonna try and get myself out of this weird little slump that I've put myself in. I'm gonna make sure that even if I have to schedule some time for me to read, because between work and my son and binging I tend to do on booktube videos and some Netflix, I don't get a lot of reading done even though I try. I gave myself 4 books to try to read, and since I only did 3 this month, I figure 4 should be a little easier, but they're a little bit longer than Eleanor and Park and All the Bright Places. The first book, and you guys know this from the other videos that I've done, because this was going to, part of my bookathon challenge, and I had started it, so I'm just gonna finish and have it count, for a book for August. And that was 1,000 Nights by E.K. Johnston. I'm just getting started. It's kind of interesting so far. I think this one might take me a little bit longer to read just because of the way it's written. It seems very, I don't know, it seems kind of lyrical in a way. I don't know how to describe it. For those of you who have read it, you might know what I mean. Otherwise, I might just be crazy and it just might be a book that's a little harder for me to read for some reason. And the next 3 books are part of a series. I had been trying to stay away from series because for me, I have to read all of them. Like, I can't just read the first book and read something else. Like, if they're all out, I have to read them all. And I think for the longest time, like, I didn't want to deal with series for some reason. But I'm gonna get back into it. I chose the 3 that I have to start. I may change my mind. I'm not gonna set this in stone because I do want to challenge myself to read as much as I can, but I don't want to force myself to read something that I don't feel like reading. So this isn't gonna be, like I said, a set in stone kind of thing. I am finally going to get started on the Lunar Chronicles series. I know that I am missing Ferris and Winter, but since I haven't started, I still have time to pick up those last 2 and maybe finish the series. Maybe it can be part of my September TBR. We'll just kind of have to see. I do have a question for the people who have read it. I know I'd asked this before, but I didn't get any responses. For the Lunar Chronicles series, is Ferris essential to, like, the series itself? I looked on Goodreads and some people have said that it wasn't good, that it wasn't necessarily, like, needed. So I just was wondering if I had to get that in order to read Winter. I probably will anyway and just read them in order because I'm enough of a freak like that I have to do it that way. So those are the books that I plan to read in August. I'm also thinking about maybe trying out a buddy read. If anyone is interested, comment below, send me an email, find me on Instagram, Twitter. I will leave all of that down below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, especially comment. I really want to use this as a source to meet new people, so make sure to do that so we can get talking. But I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.